Hi guys, welcome back. Are you ready to do another lesson in our social studies unit? Our unit is monarchy versus democracy. This specific lesson, we're going to look at two specific monarchs. In previous lessons, we've talked about different monarchies and countries, and we've talked about different types of democracies. So today, we're going to look at two very specific monarchs. Let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So today we're going to learn about two monarchs, King Louis XIV and Peter the Great. King Louis XIV lived from 1638 to 1715. He was the King of France. Peter the Great lived from 1672 to 1725, and he was the Emperor of Russia. So two different countries, two different monarchs. Let's learn a little bit about them. King Louis XIV ruled over France for 72 years. He inherited the kingdom after his father's death at the age of 4. So King Louis was 4 years old when he inherited the kingdom from his father. And if you remember, when we were comparing different monarchies, that was one of the things they had in common. The absolute monarchy, as well as the constitutional monarchy, inherited its power. So power is inherited. And King Louis inherited, so he got his power. He became the king after his father died. His mother Anne and the chief minister Mazarin reigned over France for many years. King Louis XIV took over control after the death of Mazarin. Unlike his predecessors, unlike the rulers before him, King Louis ruled without the help of a prime minister. So that was different. The rulers before him had a prime minister to help rule the country. King Louis did it without the help of a prime minister. King Louis XIV saw himself as a representative of God. He thought he was given the divine right to rule and had absolute power of the monarchy. Let's look at this. Divine right. Do you remember that word? Let's go to our vocabulary. Divine rights mean that kings base their right to rule directly from God and are not accountable to the people. So King Louis thought he got his right to rule directly from God, and he is not accountable to the people. He also chose the sun as his emblem. He was called the Sun King. And this was to signify that everything revolved around him. Just like the planets orbit around the sun, King Louis XIV died at age 77, and his 5-year-old grandson succeeded him. So King Louis became king when he was 4, and when King Louis died at the age of 77, his 5-year-old grandson then became king. He succeeded him. All right? Everybody get that? Lots of information. Right now, remember, we're getting ready to do some questions. If you have pencil and paper, great. If you don't, go ahead and hit pause. Go get paper and pencil. Come back and just start it again. Also, as we're going through these, don't wait on me to give you the answer. Go ahead and write down your answer. If you're not correct, just go back later and fix it. Okay? I want you to know the correct answer, but I want to see what you know as well. So let's jump in and start. Number 1 says, how old was King Louis XIV when he became king? Was he 3? Was he 4? Or was he 5 years old? How old was King Louis XIV when he became king? Okay, you have it written down. I'm getting ready to give you the answer. King Louis became king and he was 4. We go back into the text. We can see right here at the top, our information is right here in the text. He inherited the kingdom after his father's death at age 4. So King Louis became king when he was 4. If you don't know the answer, you can always go back in the text to find it. Look at number 2. What was different about the reign of King Louis XIV? His mother took over. He didn't care about the people. He didn't have a prime minister. Determine your answer and write it down, please. What was different? He didn't have a prime minister. That was different. So if you're not sure and you want to go back, we can always go back in the text and look at it right here. And it says, unlike his predecessors, which means the rulers before him, King Louis XIV ruled without the help of a prime minister. Okay? Let's go ahead and read the next one. Who did King Louis XIV believe gave him the right to rule? God, the people, his father. Who did he believe gave him the right to rule? Write down your answer. King Louis believed that he got the right to rule from God. If you're not sure, you can always go back and look. King Louis saw himself as a representative of God. He thought he was given the right to rule and had he thought he was given the divine right, which means it came from God. Has everybody got these 3? Remember, if you don't, you can always stop to hit pause. You don't have to keep going. We have plenty of time. We're going to go on and look at Peter the Great. Okay? Peter the Great was born in 1672. He ruled over Russia from 1696 until his death in 1725. When he inherited, there's that word again, inherited. He inherited the throne, just like King Louis did. When he inherited the throne, most of Russia was underdeveloped. Peter the Great made it his goal to modernize his country and reestablish Russia. So when he inherited and he became the ruler, he wanted to modernize his country. And how did he do this? He did this by hiring experts to educate his people about technological advancements. In addition, he created the Navy, reorganized his army, and separated schools from church. So he hired experts because he wanted all of his people to be educated about technological advancements. And just to clarify, they did not have computers. That is not what it means. It was just different technologies of that time. Peter the Great was an absolute monarch. He believed that he was given the right from God to rule over his country and to pass this right along his family lines. All right? So just like King Louis XIV, he thought he had the right to rule that was passed to him, or that he got the divine rights, so it was from God, and then he could also pass the right to rule along to his family. The Russian Tsar, this just means ruler, okay? And that's what Peter the Great was the Russian Tsar, or the ruler, was a cruel ruler. And he used divine right to make workers and people do what he wanted. Peter the Great died in 1725 without an heir to his throne. So that just means that when he died, he didn't have a son or a grandson or someone to pass it on to. Okay? Ready for some questions? So let's look at these questions. Number 4. Which country did Peter the Great rule? France, Germany, Russia. Write down your answer, please. Peter the Great ruled over Russia. Now, if you weren't really sure, you can always go back in the text and look. And here in this top blurb, it says, he ruled over Russia. So that's how we know. Answers are always in your text. You can always go back. Number 5. Number 5 says, why did Peter the Great hire experts? To teach his people about technological advancement. So other countries don't have access to them, or to waste his money. Why did Peter the Great hire experts? Write down your answer. He hired experts to teach his people about technology, about technological advancements. And if you weren't really sure, you could come back and look, and right here, he was trying to modernize Russia, and he did this by hiring experts to educate his people about technological advancements. Okay, let's look at number 6. Who did Peter the Great believe gave him the right to rule? The people, God, or nobody? Who did he believe gave him the right to rule? Write down your answer. He thought God gave him the right to rule. Peter the Great, let's go back and look. Peter the Great was an absolute monarch. He believed he was given the right from God to rule over his country. Now remember, he was, again, he believed he had divine rights. So that meant the kings that he based his rights to rule directly from God. Okay. Has everybody got it? Now on this next page, we have a simple activity. It tells we are supposed to cut these pieces out and then put them in order on this page. Well, I have this page right here. Let's see if I can get it to, there we go. And then I've already cut these pieces out. Okay, I've got them laying right over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this activity together. And I'm just going to glue these pieces down. I have my glue stick. The pieces have been cut out. First one that should go on here is we're starting at the top with King Louis XIV. All right? And when we were reading, we read that King Louis inherited the throne when he was 4. So that picture would be the first one. King Louis inherited the kingdom when he was 4. Our next picture for this activity is going to be this one, because he did it a little differently, King Louis XIV, and he did it without the help of a prime minister. So that picture will be our next one. He inherited when he was 4, and he did it without the help of the prime minister. Our next picture would be this one. Because King Louis thought he had the divine right to rule. He thought he was given the right to rule from God. So, inherited when he was 4, did it without the help of a prime minister, and he had divine rights. So our last picture for King Louis would be this one. A picture of the sun. Do you remember? Louis chose the sun emblem. King Louis XIV chose the sun emblem to signify that everything revolved around him. So he inherited at 4. He did it without the help of the prime minister. He had divine rights, and he chose the sun emblem. Okay? So if you were doing this at home, this would be how you would organize your pictures for King Louis. Then, on the next line is Peter the Great. Now we would start his off with the flag of Russia. Flag of Russia. And he ruled over Russia. Okay, so we have Peter the Great. He ruled over Russia. Our next picture would be this one. Because remember, he wanted to modernize Russia. And he did this by hiring experts to teach his people about technological advancements. The next picture would be this, because he, just like King Louis, thought he believed he was given the right from God. He thought he had divine rights. He ruled over Russia. He hired experts to help modernize his country, and he thought he had divine rights. Last picture for Peter the Great is this one. Because if you remember, he was a cruel ruler. Peter the Great was a cruel ruler. And he used his divine rights. To make the workers do whatever he wanted. So those are our 2 picture timelines, or 2 picture informational stories about King Louis XIV and Peter the Great. Alright guys, I hope that you've learned something from this activity and this lesson. If you have questions, you can always stop it and start it again. Thanks for being here.